We've just passed our first 500 nautical miles on the sea trail, and it came with plenty of hiccups.
That was scary.
We knocked out our first oil change, resealed an engine, fixed a leaking valve cover gasket, ran the last of the fuel lines, and dealt with a bilge pump failure. But the real scare came when we lost reverse in a very narrow passage, right when we needed to turn Tangaroa. We came closer to shore than we ever wanted, and wait until you see what exactly caused it.
We're Blaine and Janice, and this is Tangaroa, our 1969 78-foot aluminum yacht we found abandoned in Alaska. So far, we've ripped out the old Detroit diesels, rebuilt and marinized a pair of Cummins truck engines, and tackled wiring, grinding, and fabricating from bow to stern. But we're just getting started. There's so much more to come. We've got big plans for Tangaroa, and the goal isn't just to live aboard, it's to take her across the Pacific to Japan by way of Alaska. If you're into boat work, engine rebuilds, and making old things new, subscribe and join us on our never-ending sea trial.
By the time we reached Clayoquot Sound, we put almost 200 nautical miles on the new Cummins, and it was time for the first oil change.
Pump's not turning. Jammed it.
So, I've decided today we're sitting over at Effingham Bay. We're going to be here for a couple of days, so I'm going to go ahead and sort out the oil leak on the front of the engine. If you guys have watched past videos, you'll know that when we were in the yard, I had to pull this cover off to replace the oil pump because I wasn't getting oil pressure. So, that's my task for today. It's pretty easy, not much on these engines. This is one of the things that I love about them. Basically just have to take the balancer off, which I've already done. Have to remove the belt assembly and the idler pulley up here, and just unbolt the cover, take it back off again. I probably just didn't put enough silicone on, or not silicone, I use something called the right stuff. Porsche, perfect, but I did that timing cover when it was on an engine stand in my shop. This one was a bit of a rush, so I'm just having to redo it. So that's my project for today. So I'm just going to finish pulling all the bolts off of this, and then I'll pop that front cover off. I've got to clean it all up, get all the old sealant off of it, clean up the inner timing cover, and make sure it's free of oil, and then everything in reverse. So, but like I said, pretty easy job. This would be a lot more difficult in a truck, But on the boat, obviously, super easy. So happy with that. It's one of the main reasons why I went with this engine is just the simplicity is amazing. Everything's accessible. Oil pump, the water pump, super easy to get to. Really, I mean, the only thing that I'd ever have to mess with the oil pan for is to reseal it. I don't have to do anything under the motor. There's very little things on the side of the motor that have chances of leaking. So pretty good that way. And like I said, Porsche has been stellar. No leaks. Had a little bit of a fuel leak on one of the injector lines, which I just needed to tighten a little bit, and it seems fine now. Yeah. Happy so far. This would be a lot quicker if I had my impact or my socket Allen keys, because I could use my impact to remove them quickly. But I don't have them here, at least not the correct ones. I'll have to get a set on board at some point, but for the time being, this will work. Just a little slower. All right, all the bolts loose, so I got it broken loose off the sealant up here at the top, and I'm just gonna slowly work myself around here. Get a little bit of help there. Maybe not. There we go. Alrighty. Yeah, looks like there might have been a couple of spots where it was sneaking past the sealant, and I definitely did not put near enough on this time. So let's clean it all up. That's the time-consuming part. The disassembly and reassembly is super fast. It's just the cleaning up all the sealant that is left on there. And as you can see, that's the front timing case set up. So you've got your crankshaft here. This is your oil pump. That's your camshaft, and that's the high pressure fuel pump, the CP3 pump. It's pretty simple. Super easy to change oil pumps. Camshafts aren't too bad. You've got to remove the, or you got to lift up the lifters inside because they're slid in from the bottom of the block up. And then the camshaft holds them from falling back out again. So you have to get some little wooden dowels and feed them down through the push rod holes and kind of feed them into the top of the lifter and give them a little bind sideways so they don't fall out. And then you can just slide the camshaft out, do whatever you need to do, put it back in again, good to go. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get this all cleaned up, which is super duper unexciting. So I'm not going to keep the camera on for that. But yeah, we'll see you guys when I get it all clean. So you'll find a lot of times on these new engines, not just the Cummins, this goes for any of the modern engines, diesel, gas, doesn't matter. A lot of them are being assembled now with sealant. There's no gaskets on a lot of the spots. And that's how the front timing cover is on these engines. This is all just done with sealant. A lot of people have different sealants that they like. I have had pretty good experience with the right stuff over the engine builds that I've done at the shop. So that's what I use. And usually it does well. But like I said, I was a little bit shy on how much sealant I used putting this back together again. And I think I just maybe had a couple of voids that it was coming out of. And it doesn't take much to get oil to come out. So yeah, that's pretty common on these engines these days. Even oil pans, they're just sealant. Matter of fact, on a lot of the new engines, if you order up a gasket kit for the engine or an oil pan gasket through some of the like the wholesalers, it literally comes as a tube of sealant. So yeah, use of gaskets, not as much these days, and the ones that they do use are pretty good gaskets. They've got, a lot of them have rubber impregnation on them, so they're more like an O-ring, all bonded. So anyway, get back to it. All right, when it comes to this stuff, cleanliness is godliness. Like, this is critical that you get it completely clean and free of oil. At least the face that you're sealing against anyway. You don't have to worry about the outside edges, but I mean, always pick stuff off as I go. But definitely the sealing face has got to be completely clean and oil free. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good stick. And I think that was a part of my issue with why this was leaking in the first place, is I was just in a rush when I did it last time, and I probably just didn't clean as well as I should have. So this time I've made sure I've gotten all of everything off, which that I did last time, but I'm just going to keep wiping this until I don't get any more grime coming up on my rag here. Any kind of dirtiness on there is not good. Nice thing about when I put this stuff together at the shop is all of this was already completely oil free when I was assembling it. Required very little cleanup to get clean, because it was all jet washed and blasted, so it came back pretty spotless to begin with, at least oil free. But now that the engine's been run, it's a bit less oil free. All right, finally to an acceptable amount of cleanliness here. So I think what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put the sealant on this face, and then put the timing cover on that, versus last time I put it on the timing cover. So we'll see if that helps at all. Now normally I don't put this much on, but I'm not messing around this time. I usually don't use the squeeze tubes either. I usually use the caulking guns or the pressurized tubes, which can make a much more accurate bead here. This is pretty ugly, and I'm not proud of this. But it will seal. And yes, I've heard everything about, oh, it's going to squeeze out and break off and plug stuff. I'm not concerned about that. Pickup tube is huge on this. It's not going to block up every little pickup tube, even if it goes in there. And from what I've seen with this sealant, it doesn't fall off into stuff. It sticks. And even if it beads into the inside, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, that's my hole there. Now the tricky bit here is I've got the seal for the crankshaft to deal with, and these are a little tricky, and unfortunately I don't have the little plastic doodad anymore to put in there to make sure that it gets all the way around. So the last time it was a bit of an issue. Funny enough, it wasn't actually leaking from there at all. That was all fine. See if I can put some longer bolts through just to hold this in place. At least one. Sneak it past the sensor. And then this is where it gets interesting. Oh, shit, that time it's slipped right on. Nice. Some of these actually hold the backing cover on as well. They're the longer ones. Okay. Now to reassemble all the crap on the front. Now I'm not impacting these tight, I'm just snugging them. It's a lot faster than hand threading them in. And then I'll follow up with a torque wrench. And if I remember correctly, those are 92 foot-pounds. Somewhere around in there. I will confirm that before I torque them, but I'm fairly certain on that. So one of the things that I did driving the raw water pump is I've taken these are actually Magnuson supercharger pulleys. The nice thing about them is they are the perfect size for tapping on the center to thread on to where the clutch fan used to thread on the fan pulley. I plan on eventually drilling and tapping the rest of these bolt holes here, but for the time being, they have worked great. I mean, that's like a 30 millimeter thread on there, so it's not like I'm going to strip it out just driving that pump. But so far, they've been phenomenal. They've worked out really well, which I'm super happy with. The funny thing is, I actually had one of those kicking around the shop. That's why I used it. A lot of the stuff is just little things that I had kicking around the shop that I decided to try. That made sense. And yeah, like I said, so far it's worked out pretty well. So far. All right, there we have it. All back together again. So I'm going to give that all day and overnight to cure, possibly even tomorrow. I'm not sure if we're planning on going anywhere. And then hopefully that will have sorted the front leak. And then Captain Paul is bringing me a new O-ring for the valve cover. And we'll get that sorted. And then hopefully Stella will be leak-free. That would be wonderful. Good news, no more leaking, no more squeaking.
Don't know what stopped the squeaking. Blaine, what stopped the squeaking?
No idea. It fixed itself.
Win!
All right, so it's time to finally change this leaky valve cover gasket on Porsche. As you can see, I've got the outer valve cover gasket off. Now I've got to take loose this lower plate here, and then I can lift it up just a little bit. I'm going to try not to take loose the injector leads here. I'm going to try to just kind of lift them up and replace it that way, because these are torque down nuts on the injectors, and they're like super low torque, and I don't have the torque wrench for them. It's back at the shop, so I'm just going to try to lift up that upper gasket there a little bit and then do the seals underneath. It is an O-ring seal, so it should be fairly easy to get out of there. So yeah, that's what I'm going to give a go. Otherwise, I'll have to take them loose and get that out of the way too. Let's see if I can pull this upper cover out of the way. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get that right out of there, sadly. These are captured nuts too, so they can't fall out, which is awesome. Probably a pretty smart idea when you're dealing with stuff that's inside of a valve cover. Kind of funny that the old upper valve cover gasket sealed just fine, but the new lower one did not. We'll probably find out pretty quick why. My assumption is that when I put it in there, it might have gotten a twist in it, and I just didn't catch it. So we'll see. Okay. Set that on top of the other. Now I can remove the lower. All right, so there you have it. Obviously it must have fallen out when I was setting it down and I didn't catch it, and it squished out to the inside. So that's why we have a leaky valve cover gasket. See, it's all squished there. So I am glad that I had Captain Paul bring up one with him, and hopefully it's the correct one, and I'm going to get this all put back together again. So just to show you guys how easy these are, they literally just push right into the groove, just like that. So how I messed that up, no idea, but they just pop right in. There's no sealant you need with these. You just put the O-ring in the O-ring groove and you set the cover down. So like I said, not sure how I managed to get that one dog knobbed in there, but apparently it jumped out on me. There we go. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to flip it upside down and I'll first check to make sure that they're all level, because there's a couple little high spots here where it's not pushed down all the way. That's looking better. Spot there. All right, looking pretty good. So I'm gonna lay that guy back down again and go for attempt number 2. All right, now same thing in reverse. Now what I won't do is crack down on these with a impact. I'll properly torque those, so I'll have to go and find my torque wrench, but what I will do is just snug them up. And I usually work from the center outboard. Alright, so with that, and then I'll find my torque wrench. Lower pan, 18 foot-pounds. I usually like to torque them a bit evenly, so I don't go the full amount on the first time. I've already snugged these up a little bit, so that's why they're not turning much right now. Good. All good. Alrighty, now to put the upper stuff back on again. Oh, and I'll have to very gingerly tighten down my injector nuts with my calibrated hand torque wrench. Yeah, it's like way down in the inch pounds for these nuts. And very bold print. Do not over tighten. So I've got everything clear. Nothing gonna get pinched. Nice thing is these bolts that go through here are actually captured, so even after you take them loose, they don't fall out. They'll stay in. Super handy. Apparently the uppers are 18 foot-pounds as well. And then lob that guy down. And what that is that's actually the PCV filter. There's actually filter material in here, and as the oil vapors escape through, it traps the oil in the filter. So that is a serviceable item in there, and it is a regular maintenance item. So I can't remember the exact mileage on the trucks, but I'll have to figure out a maintenance schedule for the boat here that makes sense, and make sure I have spares on board for that. Because once that plugs up, your crankcase pressure will start to increase because it will have nowhere to ventilate. Or so I'm assuming, based on what limited reading I've done. I also have to finish up my PCV system on these as well. It's a little stinky in the engine room currently. Fortunately, with fresh engines, I'm not getting a lot of crankcase ventilation movement. It seems to be getting pretty good ring seat, which I'm super happy about. And we are ready for engine running tomorrow. Just like that. Alright, so there you go, honey.
What did you do? It's all pinched and gross. No wonder you had a leaky engine.
Leaky Stella.
Well, that was stupid.
Yep.
Whoa, that was close. Look at this is called human error. You guys all think Blaine's a genius? Okay, he's not. He's not.
I'm not.
Wow, am I just totally bashing on you? It happens. We all make mistakes, even Blaine. Better?
But mistake remedied, and things should be leak-free tomorrow.
Blaine was putting the engines through their paces when we heard an odd noise. Luckily, he recognized it right away, and he and Captain Paul went running for the engine room. Can you guess what happened?
Yeah, you go around the other side nice and quickly.
Yep. Yeah.
Undo it. Yep, that's it. Undo it and move it out. Yeah, I got it here. Okay.
There we go. Woo! Funny enough, I think I actually missed that one. I don't think I actually tightened it.
Sorry, what
because the
happened?
nut was all the way back.
Oh, was it?
What? Oh, okay. What happened between the two of you?
Just had a charge pipe blow off, so I was doing some higher RPM test runs on the engines, and no, I knew right away because I've dealt with it lots in the past, but had a charge pipe blow off, which is basically the pipe from the turbo to the engine that's under boost. So we had to go down there and put it back on again.
And both of you were down there?
Yep.
Fix it?
Yeah.
Good job, guys. Where did he go?
I've lost the other captain.
Oh. You're doing testing or something. What are you doing?
I basically just need to make sure that...
Are you losing my laundry? My shorts!
We almost went overboard.
Oh, jeez.
Just have to make sure the engines meet or exceed 2,400 RPM.
Okay, let's see.
So if you can watch the RPM there.
It got red.
Yeah, because it exceeded 2,400 RPM.
But
Yeah,
why does it have to?
I know.
Holy smokes!
You feel that acceleration?
It accelerates.
Just going like this.
And people thought these engines were too small.
Why does it have to meet or exceed 2,400?
Because that's to make sure you're not overloading the engines.
Well, oh my gosh, did that boat just take off? I thought our bow lifted up and we're like, woohoo!
Took off.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was very impressive.
Yeah,
Very impressive.
That's insane.
not bad.
Are you
Not
happy
bad.
with your engines,
I'm
Blaine?
super happy with my engine.
Exactly what you wanted?
Exactly what I planned. Dropped our friends off in Ucluelet yesterday and noticed when we were kind of maneuvering out there that we had no reverse on the port engine. Never awesome. So we powered on to our next anchorage that we were stopping at. We still had all the other gears. First thing I did was let's see, what did I do? I pulled the solenoids and switched them side to side. Or no, sorry, I take that back. I pulled the caps off the solenoids and manually engaged the transmissions, and transmission works fine. So that's a big plus, because that's the worst possible scenario if that had happened. So now what I've done is this morning, I've actually come in here, and these are the two solenoids here. So I've flip-flopped these two connectors, and what that did is that's actually flipped the signal to the solenoids from one to the other, and the problem followed the connector. So it's not the solenoid that's the problem, it's something back in the electrical. So now what I'm doing is I've actually popped into the ECU here, and what I think I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to bypass one set of connectors in there, because I've got my transmission safety solenoids, as well as I'm pulse width modulating, controlling, well, set it up for controlling the solenoids on the ECU, and something in there is not right. So I'm just going to bypass the ECU portion and go straight to the relays up here, and that should get us our gear back, and then I can tackle this further later. But for the time being, that should get us on the go. Okay, so I just did a quick bypass in the wiring. That'll get swapped back later, but we'll go give that a try, see if that worked. And I've just confirmed that the transmission shifting now after that short repair. I'll tackle that again when we get back to Victoria, and I've got a bit more time, but for the time being, that should solve the problem. One more thing to figure out. So I was doing a little bit of work in Izzy's room here, and I noticed there was some water in the bilge, and the bilge pump wasn't turning on. Definitely not a good thing, because obviously bilge pumps are important. So just went back to the engine room and found that just that had the breaker off. So I just put the breaker back on, and now it's working. These bilge sections don't work all that great, because they don't have really good limber holes in them, so you end up getting water sitting back in the other sections of the bilge that doesn't empty properly. So the pump just ends up cycling on and off. And right now it looks like it's stuck on, so I'll have to mess with that. But anyway, that's the joys of boat life. I am running fuel lines from the mid-tank up to the fuel manifold so I can get some fuel being transferred, because right now the only two tanks that I have currently connected are empty. So we got to get access to the fuel in the mid tank so I can get enough fuel to get us back to Victoria. So doing a quick connect here. These are the fuel fittings. That's our feed fitting. This is a return fitting. And somewhere back in there, there's another return fitting or something there. It's not a vent line, it's something else. Each one of these tanks had 3 fittings on them. Not entirely sure what they were for, all 3, but yeah, I'm just interested in this one right now. Oh man, that's a tight one. Flip these around, see if I can. I'm not reusing this fitting, so I don't care if it gets buggered up on the tip. Just needed more wrench. Trying to get rid of as much of the bronze and copper as I can here. That's perfect. So I have to go get some stuff for that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to confirm that this is indeed the feed fitting. So I've got a piece of just filler rod here, welding filler rod, and this tank is, obviously it's the keel tank, and center of the tank is actually kind of over here where I'm standing. But the fuel fitting is off to the side over here because obviously you can't have a fuel fitting right in the middle of the hallway here. So I know that if it's the pickup fitting, it's got to have a curve in the middle of it to get down into the center of the sump and the tank, because this goes right down into the keel. So there's like a 6-inch wide trough at the bottom. So if this has got a bend in it, I know that it goes to the bottom of the tank, and that's the pickup tube. So I'll just feed this down, and right there it stops and starts binding. So I know there's a bend right there. So chances are that is indeed the pickup tube, because in these tanks they didn't bother to run the return lines to the bottom of the tank. So I'm going to carry on. There we go. That should do it. Now I get to run some hose. We're here in Izzy's room. And unfortunate that the shower, the guest shower, is right where the chaseway is for all the hoses and wires and everything. And unfortunately, there's no access under the shower. So that's the one place in this boat that I don't have access to, which is going to change in the future. But we were fortunate enough to have an old wet exhaust that used to go through here from one of the generators, and it makes a nice little chaseway right through. So lately I've just been feeding everything through that, and then once we do the shower later, I'll kind of redo all this a little bit and lay it out nicely. But for the time being, that's a real easy access for us to run through. And I'll show you guys here. It's just a piece of wet exhaust hose down in here, and that used to go all the way through to the back of the boat, but it no longer does. So that's what I'm using to get all this stuff through. And I've got cables run through there, I've got hoses run through there, and it just works really well. I got Janice feeding me the hose from the other side over there. What?
I'm feeding.
She's feeding. Let's see. I just need to pull through enough to make it over to my manifolds. That is not going to be enough. Okay, that should be enough for now, Janice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I just got to get that through the wall over here and over to the center, and then I can feed it through to the engine room. So I got that one all hooked up. I'm going to do a little test here to see if I can actually get some fuel flowing. If you've watched past episodes, you'll know that this whole setup has got to be redone a bit. Right now I've got the mid tank connected to my marked aft one. So I'm gonna turn that guy on, and I'm gonna turn that guy on, and then I'm gonna do that and see if I get some fuel coming in. Oops, I hear it. We've got fuel. So that should be coming into my day tank now. Oh, I hear it. Yeah, we're working. Sweet. Now the nice thing about this system is I've got two fairly large dull filters here with a very large sump capacity for water. So all of my fuel transfer goes through these two filters. So even if one were to fill up with water and I didn't catch it in time, you've got the second one that would start catching it after that. So I think it's a pretty good system. It should work pretty well. I do want to get a couple of pressure gauges in here though, just so I can monitor pressure on these filters, because these are not run under suction, they're run under pressure. And I think it was like 20 psi maximum or something like that. So that's how you know when your filters are starting to plug up. But anyway, that seems to be working well so far, and the fuel looks nice and clean, so I'm happy with how that's going.
As it happens, we've decided to change our mind on where we're going tonight. So now we're heading to
Robbers Passage.
Now tell me a bit about this place.
Apparently it's a stopover point that's run by Port Alberta Yacht Club, and it's a protected bay, lots of beautiful trails, hiking trails. It's got a dock in there, good for running around on the Tinder.
Just telling Blaine I want to bring the dinghy in. We've got it on a long tow line before we hit this narrow entrance. Bring her in on a short tow. We changed our mind about where to spend the night, and to reach that anchorage, we had to run Robbers Passage, a narrow cut in Barclay Sound between Sartis and Fleming Islands, with rocks tight on both sides. For Tangaroa, it meant a sharp left turn, port engine in reverse, starboard and forward, and that's when things got interesting. Just went out. Okay, we need to go anchor someplace, like right there. Scary shit. Are you okay, Blaine? You were so calm.
Just stopped the boat where we were and...
Woo! We had two boats coming in. Maybe just over there. Holy fuck. That was really, really scary. Okay, we're gonna go anchor. Whew. So we came sideways through there, that entrance. Right there is where we lost reverse.
Got sideways through there.
So what would you have done differently if we couldn't get the reverse?
If I couldn't have gotten the reverse on the port engine, I would have rotated the other way and backed in.
So it's only port engine we lost reverse on. So you didn't seem panicked.
Nope.
So what was the thing? When that happens, what did you do?
Stop the boat. So if you stop the boat, you're not going to hit a rock. So you just stop the boat so you can figure out what's going on, fix it, and get going.
And if we had touched a rock?
I heard it would have scratched Janice's fancy paint on the bottom, but that's about it.
So glad I have a husband that could fix that. I was panicked just a little bit because all these boats were like, what's happening? Are you on the ground? I'm like, we just lost reverse. Just give us a second. We'll sort this out. Which is exactly what Blaine did. He sorted it out.
Fortunately, I already knew where the problem was, so I went straight to it.
So how are we going to fix this problem in the future?
I'm just going to get a new connector for that, well, for all the solenoids. It's just a rusty electrical connection there.
One little rusty electric connection nearly put us on the rocks.
Yep.
From above, you can see just how tight Robert's Passage really is. We were taking the mark to starboard and setting up for that left turn when the port engine suddenly lost reverse. A rusty connector was to blame. Blaine brought Tangaroa to a stop while I waited on the bow ready to signal for help from one of the boats standing by. If he couldn't get reverse back, the only option would have been to back Tangaroa all the way out until there was room to turn. How's it going? Good morning. It is 6 a.m. We've been up since 5. Blaine is doing some changes on the engine so we can head out down the Juan de Fuca Strait. How's it going? What are you doing exactly?
So I'm changing, the engines had a little bit of a sluggish startup. And what I found was in the settings here, they had them set for turning on the injectors at 100 bar of pressure, which isn't much. The typical stock Dodge engine doesn't turn on the injectors until it hits 350 bar. Or 240 bar. So a lot more pressure on the everything for the injectors, so better burn. So what I'm doing is I'm changing the settings around where the rail pressure ramps up faster and the engine waits longer before it actually turns on the injectors, so we have more pressure at the rail before the injectors get enabled, which theoretically should allow the engines to start faster.
And you came up with this while lying in bed last night?
I came up with it yesterday. I was looking a bit at the data logs just to see what was going on when it was starting. And I just found that when I was in bed last night watching TV with the laptop in my lap.
Let's get her fixed and then we're going to head out.
That's the plan.
Okay. There's last night. Within our anchor, you can see us spinning around. But now we've got to get out of the place where we had the little bit of stress yesterday. When the boat didn't go into reverse. So the sun is just starting to come up. It's just starting to lighten up. I'm making my second cup of tea. Blaine is doing the last changes on the engines, and then we're going to get out of here.
That started better. Wasn't super fast like I wanted, but it was fast enough where the engine started without and no smoke out the side, which is what I was mainly after.
Nice.
Yeah.
So now what do you want to do?
Start making our way out of here.
Let's go.
Okay.
Blaine is back to doing some tuning. What are you doing this time?
Just changing around the startup settings. So just trying to get the engine to start up a bit faster. There's basically two main injections that I'm working with. There's the pilot injection, and then there's the main injection pulse. The pilot injection pulse is done before the main to get the burn happening. So the main injection is a softer hit on the motor. So hopefully that'll make for a nice, quiet, chill startup. But
I was going to say you're just sorting out the startup, so it's not so
but before it just kept, it would crank and then it would slowly start to fire and pick up. And then the last changes I made fixed most of that. So I'm just doing a couple of little tweaks just to clean up the last bit of it here now.
We are back on our mooring and we're celebrating. and Blaine was just talking about the engine swap, and we're just there goes the Starlink moving. You ever seen Starlink move? It's kind of scary when she actually moves. There she is. But anyways, we're just debriefing on the engine swap and our sea trial, which was basically 700 nautical miles. A bit crazy. Blaine was just saying that his calculations go with what you're saying. You don't have to toot your own horn and say you're fucking amazing. But
I have to say it a little bit. We just took 2 completely custom set up engines on a first sea trial for 700 miles up the west coast of Vancouver Island.
Open ocean.
And everything, pretty much. There's a couple of little, like, oil leaks and whatnot, transmission solenoid, rust on the connector, things like that. But pretty much the brunt of it, 0 issues, and worked exactly like I planned and exactly like I calculated.
That was awesome. Way
Which
to go,
gave me
honey.
A pretty big confidence boost that maybe I actually do know what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Bring on the next big project. You did awesome. Proud of you.
Cheers.
If you like what we're doing and want direct access to us, join our online crew. Members get to chat with us on Discord, see early and ad-free videos, and even get exclusive Tangaroa crew gear. You can sign up at www.onboardtangaroa.com. See you there.